Hey, what's up, Star Wars collectors and Star Wars fans? Now, this is a quick video on how I feel about George Lucas and Disney. Now, I don't have a whole lot to say, so I'm going to keep it very simple and short. Starting off with George Lucas, I enjoyed all the films that he made. You know, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, American Graffiti. I think the films that George Lucas ended up making were good films. I grew up with the original Star Wars movies like my dad. And obviously my dad showed me those movies, and then my generation grew up with episode 1 to episode 3, which is Phantom Menace to Revenge of the Sith. And my friends and I really loved growing up with those movies. We didn't really have a problem with any of them. I mean, we were young, but we also knew what was kind of going on in the Star Wars world. And I know that George Lucas made those movies mainly for children when he first started doing the whole Star Wars thing, but you know, it obviously grew on us pretty big on a lot of people, and now there's just a lot of Star Wars fans. But I never personally had a problem with, you know, episode 1 to episode 3. Like I said, I definitely thought what he did worked out pretty good, and especially watching it again now that I'm 31 years old, and I was like 14 when it came out. I think when Revenge of the Sith came out, I was like 14. Maybe 15, I don't really remember, but I thought it worked out pretty good. Now, I remember whenever George Lucas signed everything over to Disney. Now, a lot of us remember that. Now, I think George Lucas was doing what he thought was best. Now, when George Lucas signed those papers and gave everything over to Disney, you know, a little bit of me broke inside, and I honestly had a feeling that things were gonna, you know, probably not work out. And that's me personally. That's how I felt at the time. You know, over the years, they started doing the projects, and a lot of them were just terrible, and still are. You know, I don't even really keep up with a lot of the new stuff, but I will say Rogue One was pretty good. I thought that was a good one. Mandalorian, I love the creativity in that. I thought it was pretty cool for a storyline and for that whole Star Wars galaxy story for that. And the third one was, it was cool to see Anakin and Obi-Wan battle it out again in the Kenobi series. You know, Anakin was Darth Vader, obviously, at the time, and they got to run into each other and, you know, have a moment together. Now, I really only watched just that part, and I just thought that was pretty neat. Other than that, I don't really dig the stuff that Disney does because I'm just not really into that. It's just not... I'm very disappointed with Disney, and I'm also very hurt by the things that have been going on and how the world is nowadays. The world's just... You know, nowadays the world is just on another level of things, and a lot of us just can't seem to grasp that and stick with it. You know, I personally just stick with George Lucas and his films, and when I think of Star Wars, that's what I think about. I think about the original films, and I think about Phantom Menace to Revenge of the Sith, and those are my memories. And I personally was not that mad at George Lucas when he signed it over to Disney, because I know that he got older and he thought, well, I need to just retire. I need to just let them have fun with it. And, you know, and a lot of people have definitely got upset at George Lucas over this stuff. And Disney has stepped on some toes. And, I mean, I've seen a lot of Star Wars collectors get very upset because of Disney. And you don't have to follow along with all of that. You know, if you grew up with the original Star Wars films, you can just keep that as your memory, and you can just stick with George Lucas. You don't have to be a part of this whole Disney thing going on. You can just ignore it. You don't have to be a part of it. It's not worth it. To me, it's just all... There's no creativity coming from Disney. That's just how I feel. And it's not just Disney. It's just all these movie productions. All the movies that keep coming out nowadays are just trash. I mean, all these productions rush to get projects done. You know, it's all about the money and the time, and that's what it just feels like now. And it's like nobody takes the time to actually make a film. And, you know, George Lucas is right. There's no creativity. Nothing's original anymore. It's all just repeats of everything, and we all know that. I mean, everything is just a repeat. Everything that we don't want Disney to do, they end up doing. And I feel like that's just how it's going right now as far as Star Wars, because, you know, I respect the original actors from Star Wars that went into Force Awakens and all that, and they did all that, but I didn't really feel the connection there with, you know, Princess Leia and Han Solo. I mean, it was like, we all know that Harrison Ford wanted Han Solo to die and his character to be killed off. Well, he finally got his wish. They gave it to him, you know, and it just... I walked out of every single one of those films. Actually, no. I only went to the first one, and then I went to the last one. That's when Palpatine came back. It's just ridiculous. Palpatine came back. Anyways, if you want to, you can just stick with George Lucas and his films. You know, if you grew up with the original Star Wars and you grew up with Phantom of the Menace to Revenge of the Sith, stick to that. You don't have to be a part of this Disney stuff. All these productions, all these movie productions nowadays, they don't know what they're doing. I feel bad for a lot of actors out there because it's hard for them to get work. You know, I feel bad for a lot of voice actors also because a lot of them, it's hard for them to get work too. And a lot of those people end up going to a lot of cons and signing autographs, and a lot of them make their money that way. And it's just, the industry, the whole movie industry is just downhill so bad that it's hard to fix. And everything is time and money. And I personally have worked on a couple of movie sets, you know, nothing major, you know, nothing crazy. It was Army Wives, the show Banshee. I mean, it was low-key, you know, productions that I worked on, but I worked on those with my dad, and I got to learn what the movie industry is really like and the TV world is like. And I've always been into that stuff, but I've never had a career in it. I just kind of helped my dad on those sets. My dad was an armorer on those shows, so he handled the weapons and all that kind of stuff. It was cool. I mean, it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. I even got to meet Catherine Bell from Jag. I mean, come on, man. Catherine Bell. So yeah, you know, movies just... George Lucas said it. There's no creativity. Nothing is original anymore. And it is sad. It really is sad, you know. And I just want to say, I'm not about the whole new Disney crap going on. I personally will stick to the original films and to George Lucas's work, and I'm going to cherish that kind of stuff. And when I go toy hunting, you know, with Ewok M, my memory is always stuck on when I was a kid growing up with Star Wars with my dad. So that's just always what's going through my head. And I don't want to be a part of the new stuff going on nowadays because everything's a little too extra nowadays, and I'm not for that. Nothing against, you know, if you like Disney, go for it. I mean, everybody likes what they like. I'm not here to hate on anybody. I'm not here to, you know, talk smack about Disney. It sounds like I am. But Disney doesn't know what they're doing. And that's just the truth. I mean, that's just how I feel. You know, going behind the scenes of all these productions with these movies and TV shows, there's some dark stuff that people just don't know, and, you know, the arguments that happen. Productions have a hard time getting things done, all because of time and money. And no creativity. There's no creativity out there anymore. I hope you guys have a good one. And I just mainly wanted to say, you can either stick with George Lucas, or you can stick with Disney, or you can like both, you know. But that new Star Wars going on is not Star Wars, for me personally. He made Star Wars, and his Star Wars will always be my Star Wars. May the Force be with you guys, and take care of my Star Wars collectors. And remember, go out there and toy hunt, because you never know what you're going to come across.